to what Mr. McDermott said is absolutely the truth. It's correct. The guns coming into Illinois, we know specifically are trafficked from outside that state, as that's happening all around the country. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention made demonstrable improvement in reducing gun violence in America. In its first days in office, the Trump administration eliminated the office, threatening the progress that we've made in gun violence. Mr. Jackson, my questions are for you. If you can be succinct, because I have a number of questions for you. The Trump White House shuttered the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. What work won't happen as a result of that?
Well, there's no longer a team that's focused every day on getting the resources to life-saving strategies. We talked about domestic violence, but one of our jobs was pushing over $450 million to states to help them implement strategies to remove firearms from domestic abusers. But now, without our office there to oversee the dollars getting to the communities needed, implementing and expediting laws or executive actions, frankly, processes will be slowed and unfortunately lives will be lost.
Please tell us how state and local governments have taken up the mantle of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the results that we saw federally, when we started the administration, there was only one statewide Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Now there's 14. There were only 20 at the city level. Now there's 140. And across the country, watching cities and states think about how do they prevent violence, looking at an all-of-government approach to not only keep guns out of the hands of those who are most at risk or most vulnerable, but how do we invest in mental health, behavioral health, community violence intervention, crime, gun intelligence, law enforcement to reduce violence.
Some Republicans are attempting to defund federal law enforcement, including the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ATF. How important is the ATF to state and local law enforcement's efforts to solve violent crime and protect our communities?
When we traveled the country, we heard firsthand from local law enforcement how important ATF is. There are real limitations to what local law enforcement can do. And we looked at, for example, ATF prosecuted over 680 gun traffickers. Like Mr. McDermott said, guns that are moving from one state into another, ATF is the team that can prosecute and get those criminals off the streets. They also made sure that 4,600 domestic abusers were prohibited from getting firearms and made sure they didn't purchase firearms through the enhanced background check system. So the ATF is crucial to look at how guns are moving across states and causing harm, but also looking upstream at how do we hold traffickers, gun dealers, and the manufacturers accountable.
Thank you. And everyone is affected by gun violence. Have rural communities been receptive to these CVI programs?
Rural communities have heavily embraced our work, and frankly, we think about gun violence, it's homicides and suicides are such a devastating part of this problem, but we know that suicides are most intensely impacting older white males in rural America. And that's why our office partnered with the Department of Veterans Affairs, even connected with the Department of Agriculture, to think about how do we educate our older Americans about lethal means and safe storage, but also start to empower families on how they can leverage tools like extreme risk protection orders to ensure that their elder family members are safe even in those moments of crisis.
So what more should we be doing to support state and local law enforcement?
Well, we have to continue to invest and resource them. And we had a roundtable with President Biden with police chiefs from across the country. And the number one thing that they said supported their work was having true community partners. And that's where investments in community violence intervention and victim services played a huge role in ensuring that it's not just law enforcement trying to solve this problem, that we have health departments and doctors and community organizations and schools and principals all equipped with tools and resources to prevent violence before it happens. So we have to keep building on that. We have to strengthen the full ecosystem that's working together to keep our communities safe. And we can do that by passing the Office of Gun Violence Act that will create an office beyond the White House, but also just protecting those important investments through the appropriations process.
There's been so much success, but we also have so much more to do, and we have to keep going. We have to continue to make sure that we're keeping all of our communities safe. I myself, having been exposed to gun violence directly, I care about everyone's community. I don't care what side of the aisle we sit on, we have to keep our communities safe. I have a unanimous consent request. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an article by Alicia Ibaraji, entitled "More Than Half of U.S. Teachers Think Being Armed Would Make Students Less Safe," reports findings, published by CNN on May 21st.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Gentlelady's time has expired.